Welcome to Drinkin and Drivin. Here at Drinkin and Drivin, we'd like to remind you that drinking is fun and driving is fun. Just don't do them together. Have fun and be safe. Here's your host, Joe Yarbrough, and his co-host, David Tartaro.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Drinkin and Drivin. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Yarbrough. I've got Dave Tartaro over here.
Hello.
And I've got Steve Shannon. Steve is one of the brewers here at the gorgeous new location of Bugnutty Brewing Company. How you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing well, thank you. Good morning.
As he just said, it is morning. I have not had breakfast yet. Beer can also be for breakfast, so
we'll be having breakfast in a little while.
Yeah, I'll have a nice little liquid breakfast in a little while. This location is I say new location, but it's older in age than the previous location. What can you tell me about this location that we're currently in?
So we're right in the heart of Cocoa Village, and this was originally a 1932 Buick dealership.
So back in 1932, you could have come to 225 King Street, Unit B, Cocoa, Florida. What's that, 32922, and you could have got yourself a Buick. Well, actually, where we're in is the garage
This
area.
was the mechanics bay, yeah. Up in the front is a different bar, Rec 225, which are good friends of ours. And they have what was the showroom, and then the area we're in now was the mechanics bays. So it's got 18-foot high ceilings. It's got the original iron trusses, the original thick yellow pine plank roof. It's really got a cool industrial vibe to it.
It looks really cool.
And you know, you can tell that they built things well because we've had many a hurricane between 1920s and now, and it's still standing. And I mean, it looks awesome. I mean,
Still all original, yeah.
That's why, you know, when people always talk about having the new hurricane standards, you know, in the 90s or whatever, I'm like, I don't know, some of these places have been around for a lot longer, and they're doing pretty good.
So the walls are 3 bricks thick at the base, and so when we cut the door back there, we had a special brick chainsaw that cut through all those bricks. But this place isn't going anywhere.
If the zombie apocalypse ever happens, I know I'm going to come here for 2 reasons: thick walls and obviously beer.
Yeah, several thousand gallons of beer.
Great idea, actually. You know, I was thinking, since it was a Buick dealership, I feel like you and the other residents should throw in and get like an old antique Buick from that time period and put it out in the park. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we've been looking to see if we can find any memorabilia to kind of do that. But...
You maybe a hood ornament, start small.
You can put it as one of your tap handles.
So one of our Mud Club members brought his I think it's a '54 Buick thing, and it's a 6,000 pound monstrosity of
That's
a car.
so cool.
Oh my gosh,
Cool car though.
You're like, nope, that's not old enough. Get rid of it.
Do you happen to know how long this was a Buick dealership?
I think it was a Buick dealership up until sometime in the 50s, and then the building's been a number of other things over the years. As we were doing the build out here, we had the big roll-up door open, and people were just stopping in, and they were giving us little tidbits of history.
Oh, that's cool.
What went on. So,
what was it before you guys had it been empty for a
It had
while?
been empty for a while. It was a furniture consignment store for a while before that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys we talked to tried to make it a little mini mall during the late 70s.
Oh, that's
So we had a bunch
cool.
of little kiosks set up in here, but
That's
then
when malls were in fashion.
then the Carter recession happened there at the end of the 70s and kind of wiped them out. Then it was a welding shop for a while. Back when it was cool to weld any 2 random pieces of metal together and call it art. So this was an art studio.
Oh, wow.
For a while.
For all our hipster
You
friends out there.
gotta find some of that art.
You know, the name Bugnutty, obviously not something everyone uses in their day-to-day travels. Where does a name like Bugnutty come from?
So Penn Jillette used it in an article he wrote a long time ago. It's a term for being driven crazy, either in a good way or a bad way. You can say, you're driving me Bugnutty,
I like it.
or I'm Bugnutty about craft beer, those kinds of things.
Was he the one that
And,
I love Penn Jillette.
I don't know whether he coined the phrase or not, but that's kind of where we picked it up from.
That's cool.
And so my partner John was head brewer at another brewery and was having some disagreements with the owner and was being driven Bugnutty, and eventually it came down to where he says, "Oh, yeah, if you don't like it here, you can go start your own brewery." And so John said, "Oh, okay."
Don't you tempt me with a good time.
That's a great name. Sorry.
And so that's where Bugnutty came from.
Cool.
So when this podcast becomes inevitably super famous and Penn Jillette actually hears that, he's going to have to
Next
stop
month.
in here. Absolutely, next month when he hears this, he'll go ahead and he'll stop in here and come in for a
So
beer.
they actually played, Penn and Teller played at the King Center, and John went to go see him and went backstage and actually gave him a coaster and some stickers and stuff, and they picked up the coaster. They go, no way.
No way, really? So you actually got to tell him about the name?
Well, it actually, I have a picture of John with Penn and Teller
that is
from
so
a couple
great.
years ago.
So yeah,
so they're aware, but they haven't been
tie-in.
here,
That's so
unfortunately. So if you do hear this, guys, you're welcome to stop by for a beer.
I'd say for a chat, but Penn's gonna chat.
Yeah.
Come in for a chat. Sign language. I don't know. So we know this building's been around for roughly 100 years now. And that just speaks towards the overall construction of the time. So how many barrels is this system?
So our brew system is 2 barrels, and then we have a mixture of 4-barrel tanks that we double batch into for distribution, and then 2-barrel tanks for things here in the tap room. In total, we have 7 fermenters and 4 bright tanks. So we're able to keep on around 15 beers on at any given time.
Oh, wow, that's good.
As well as sending out some of our core stuff out to the local area for distribution.
Wow, it seems like a lot for only 2-barrel system.
Yep, we brew a
They're
lot.
hustling.
We're hustling, and
awesome.
and like I said, we try and come out with a couple new beers a month, and then there's seasonal things we do that rotate through that kind of keeps it fresh. So when people come in, the first thing they do is say, hey, what's new? And they'll try the new thing, and then invariably their second beer is back to their old favorite, whatever they normally drink. So kind of keep a good mix.
So you talk about seasonal beers. So I always kind of like that idea of seasonal beers. When this finally airs, it'll be out of the Christmas season. But what do we have going on for Christmas?
So for Christmas, we have our Festive Idiot. It is a brown ale that has walnuts. It's a version of a brown ale we did with just the walnuts called the Nutty Idiot. We did in conjunction with the Village Idiot pub over a few blocks from us. Yeah, cool. Great guys, good friends of ours. So we did a beer for them. Well, the following year we took that beer, and in addition to the walnuts, we added chocolate, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. So it's kind of Christmas in a glass, and it just goes.
And that's
really
on tap right now.
That's on tap right now.
Just to let you know, I'll be drinking one of those real soon.
So that's when our season. We just came out of our Halloween beer season. For Halloween, we always do our Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, which is just like the candy, and it sells really well. And we also
love peanut butter beers.
And then we do our Blueberry, which is just a strong ale with blueberry in it. The Halloween celebration for that is that it's 11.3%. So
wow, nice.
But goes down way, way too easy. Ooh. So that's that season.
It goes down spookily easy.
I want to know how that I don't think I've had beer with almost everything in it. I can't think of a walnut beer. Does it make it dry like the nut? Or
No, it's just got a nice nice overlay of the nut in there.
It's my favorite nut.
The thing I like about this particular beer is that all the flavors are in there, but none of them poke out. It's really nicely balanced. And
great.
I know we've got a 2-barrel system, and probably the most unique thing about it is it's always working because it's only a 2-barrel system. Are there any things you would say, special quirks, anything that you would say about this system over anything else you've worked? Or?
No, it's really pretty simple, and actually compared to homebrewing, it's obviously easier than. But no, it's an electric-fired system. It works extremely well. We do have the luxury of having all of our tanks are all double-walled, jacketed, so we have a glycol system that controls them all. So
I can see the glycol system here. That's really nice.
It all behaves really well, and so no, it's actually a really, really easy system to brew on.
And it looks so great with that window and the brick and everything.
Yeah, all original. That's the original glass, and
wow, even the glass.
Yeah, even the glass. Yeah.
It really has that cool nostalgic. I mean, it looks
Definitely
like it was a working garage. I mean, you've got the roll-up door where, of course, there's grain in front of it now, but there could definitely be an old Buick sitting right there.
Well, and the other thing we want to do, you can see we just have the half wall between the tap room and the brewery. There's no glass. There's no anything. So when we're brewing, folks are right here with us. And they can come by and ask questions, and so they feel like they're kind of part of the process. So.
That's neat, yeah. A lot of breweries kind of seal it off. Because it's kind of, it's sort of like a neat thing to be able to see the brew system, but this is like taking a step further.
Now we did have one bad Yelp review. Some lady came in and said, God, it smelled like beer in here. And there was no separation between the tap room and the brewery.
Heaven forbid a brewery smell like beer.
Maybe he didn't see the big sign out front that said Brewing Company.
This chocolate factory smells just like chocolate. It's terrible.
The schnozberries taste like schnozberries.
That's so funny.
So you guys have been brewing. I guess we'll start with the history of the brewery itself. How long has this brewery been?
So the brewery opened in September of 2013, so a little over 6 years in total. We opened at this location October 4th, so right at 2 months in this location.
So with the old location, I was there. I've been there a couple of times. I know. Me going to a brewery, what are the odds? It was a little bit more cramped compared to what you got here. Have you noticed, like, you kind of feel like you can stretch your legs here a lot more?
It's, the brew space is laid out a whole lot better. The tap room is considerably larger, and in fact, with this much space, there are a lot of times we don't feel like we're all that busy, and then you get the numbers at the end of the day and say, holy moly, how'd we do that? But it's just there's so much space in here, you can kind of stretch your legs a little bit. The other thing we can do now that we couldn't do is we have the stage, we can do live music. Have always done comedy on the third Thursday of every month, but it was literally in the old place. We'd moved one table out of the way and stuck a microphone by the front door, and they just no, we had live comedy there. So
live comedy.
So we just stick a microphone on the floor, doing the mic. I mean, it was the most basic stand up ever.
Yeah.
Here with the stage, and we've got some some spotlights and different things, and
then of course the location too.
And then the location with the foot traffic. Like this weekend, there's a big craft fair here in the village, and there'll be just a lot of people milling around. So you get a lot of people that may or may not know we're here. Will see that we're here and wander in, and so this location's been a huge upgrade.
Oh yeah, I mean, in all ways, it's an upgrade. The building's a cooler.
Yep.
What's the story of the other building? It was a strip mall.
It was a strip mall.
Cool story, guys.
I did actually.
It was a Crest Cleaners and a strip mall in the '60s.
So yeah,
interesting. You should get some vintage
that is
clothing.
Some fine history right there.
I like the layout of the old place though, even though it was so small. It was kind of
such a weird. It was such a weird shape though. I mean, it was pie shaped, and it was just a super weird place to be.
Well, you've got a much larger piece of a pie.
This is a whole pie.
Exactly. So that stage, you mentioned you do comedy, or you did comedy at the other one. Is it like an open mic kind of comedy?
No, we actually have professional comedians come in, mostly from this area in Orlando, and they come in the third Thursday of every month and do a 2-hour show, which is always
I feel like open mic stand up comedy is kind of rolling the dice.
Yeah.
You might lose customers.
Well, I kind of mentioned that because literally yesterday I saw a video. A friend of mine, Brittany, she just did her first ever stand up. She didn't do bad at all.
Oh, really?
It was like a little 5-minute set. She did really good. So she said she calls herself the podcast queen. So if you hear this, if you happen to listen to mine, I think you did a good job in your first ever endeavor.
Shout out.
So yeah, give her a little shout out. As far as bands, have you had like full band or just guy in the guitar?
Well, so we've only done one so far. Damian Sumi played here for our grand opening last month, and he's a very, very talented musician. But it's just him and a guitar. Tomorrow we're going on the opposite end of the spectrum. Panama, one of the local bands here that's super popular and has a huge following, is playing here tomorrow night, and they're a full up band. They have lights and sound and the whole 9 yards.
Nice. That'll be good.
I think they have 6,000 followers on Facebook or whatever. That'll be our first venture into full blown live music. But we intend to do a mix of big and small,
different size acts
through through the coming months.
We just interviewed a beach fly earlier this week, and Will.
Yeah,
you guys know
Will's
right?
yeah.
Because he mentioned you guys.
He's one of those people that's just ridiculously talented. He's actually a musician
me,
himself.
Off the air, I was going to say you should have him come in and do.
Yeah, we probably will.
He does that loop thing.
Yeah, he does a lot of things, and like I said, one of those guys that's ridiculously talented.
He's a
Renaissance
super nice
man.
guy too.
Yeah, he was honestly a pleasure to brew. Damn, look at beer coming in.
I haven't even had any drinks yet.
Man,
come on.
What do you put in this water?
Yeah, both of them were super cool.
Yeah,
we had fun.
They were really nice guys.
Yeah, they're good guys.
Yeah, we just interviewed them or brewed them yesterday, day before yesterday.
Interbrewed them. That could have been the name of this podcast.
Interbrew.
Maybe it'll be how did you not think of that?
A section we come up with. Well, actually,
like a segment.
I did have so it's called Drinkin and Drivin, but Drinkin and Drivin, which obviously we don't say you should do any sort of drinking and driving.
So
I will do the driving to a remote location,
And I'll do the drinking.
and I'll tell you where to drink. That's pretty much how I approach that. But the other name I was going for was Getting to Know Brew. Like from the King and I, Getting to Know You. And I'm telling you, like, it didn't. I thought it was so clever. I thought I was like, well done. But then I tested out with a couple family members. They're like, nah, you should do Drinkin and Drivin. So maybe I had the wrong test group. I don't know.
You did. That was that's such a funny name. I love it.
Oh man. So that's what I was going for, was Getting to Know Brew. But I think
that could be the business name.
Yeah, well, that's the business name is Getting to Know Brew. So we're good on that one. So it's there. I have the name. It's mine. And that's the Getting to Know Brews is Facebook handle and all that stuff. So it's still a very integral part. So maybe that'll be the overall. If I have like 2 or 3 shows. Have you even mentioned that on any of these episodes? I don't know. Facebook name is Getting to Know. I feel like it's kind of an important thing to mention. Well, I'm too busy. He's terrible at promoting. I'm too busy promoting these guys, which obviously I should be doing.
Which we appreciate.
Meanwhile, for the past 5 minutes, we've been talking about us.
I'm trying to get my slice of the pie now. So, but yes, you can come to Bugnutty, but you can also listen to me, Drinkin and Drivin, and that's going to be at Getting to Know Brews on both Instagram and Facebook. I haven't really done anything with Instagram yet, except for claim the name.
We'll get there.
So I had to give myself a shout out since you mentioned it.
Speaking of which, do you guys have an Instagram handle?
We do. It's Bugnutty Brew, I think.
Or just Brew, B-R-E-W.
Yeah.
And of course they're bugnutty.com if you want to.
Bugnutty.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and all the.
That's how I found them.
All the above. Yep.
I went on Facebook and I said, "Hey, let me interview you." Hey,
poke.
Exactly. I mean, I found that sometimes the old squeaky wheel gets the grease, so I'll be squeaky until they tell me, "Shut up, we don't want to talk to you." So that's where I'll draw the line. So.
Well, I was excited about this one because you guys have been around for a long time for our brew community
for Brevard County. Yeah, definitely been around a while
for Brevard County.
Oh my gosh, there's just so many possibilities.
Maybe that could be like a little panel about just the local brewers talking. County, that could be Brevard. I don't know. We'll work on it. We'll do that off on the side. I know we mentioned you guys have been around in total as far as a company for 6 years.
Yep.
But I'm assuming you didn't just wake up one day at some other job and say, "Hey, I know nothing about beer. Let me brew some beer."
Well, that does happen.
I mean, it does happen.
It does happen, and those are the ones that tend to not last very long.
Yeah. So how did you get your beer start? How did you get your feet wet?
So for me, I was living in Seattle, working at Boeing, and every day I was driving to work, and there was this place I passed every single day called Larry's Homebrew Supply, and I drove past it every day for about 3 months. And one day curiosity got the best of me, so I stopped in. I said, "Can you make beer that's worth drinking?" The guy shook his head. He goes, "Man, you can make beer better than you can buy." And I was like, okay. So started with a kit like everybody did, brewing in a plastic bucket, and then started adding stuff to kits, and then started doing stuff with raw ingredients, and you just get more and more involved, and it just took off. So it's been. I started with kits, and then extracts, and then whole grain
the first brew
it was a pale ale. It was an Australian pale ale out of a kit. Coopers, and take the top off the can, pour it in the boiling water, and then dump it in the fermenter. Was it all right? It was fine. I knock on wood, have never made a beer that I couldn't drink.
That's good.
So I've never had sanitation issues or problems. Now I've had a number of beers that didn't turn out to what I was aiming at.
Sure,
kind of surprise beers.
Still happens sometimes.
The first time I made a cider, I did the proportions wrong, and I was shooting for 5%. It came in at like 9.5.
Some tasty juice.
But at one point, I got to where I had made 135 gallons in a year at home, and it's like, okay, this is kind of getting a little, carried away.
So you had no social life. You were just at home brewing the whole.
We had a revolving door at the house. People coming by to drink.
Did you bottle it back then?
Yeah, I bottled it, and then ultimately went to kegging. I mean, and then
once you
once you keg, you never go back.
Oh yeah, bottling it. at home is such
And then
a
John-
it's the
Bottling's
worst
good.
part of brewing.
It is, but bottling is
Cake
really
is
good
cake.
if you're
You can
gonna
take
give
it with
away
you,
or something.
right.
or-
You can take it with you.
Well, now they have those beer guns. Have you ever seen those?
Yep. Yep.
So we did that with Crane Creek. We filled bottles using that. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. Well, actually, the first time we used it, we made a huge mess. But once you get the hang of it,
I used that. I
don't
don't
have to
even.
do with the sugar.
I don't
and
even
all
know what
that
it's called, but pretty much take it straight from your keg, put it in like a 2-liter bottle, and then you put the little pressurization lid on there, and you can fill it up with CO2.
Oh,
so
really?
you can just bring it around in like a Pepsi bottle, like an old Pepsi CO2
I've never
bottle,
seen that before.
and you can carbonate. Yeah, it's just this little cap that goes on top of regular CO2.
Cool.
So, and the thing was, because I moved from a house to a townhouse, I still had I had a bottle of CO2, and I had that lid. So I've been making my own
seltzer.
seltzer for a couple of years now.
I know what you're talking about. I actually bought one of those. I've never used it. I bought it a couple years ago.
Yeah,
you have to tell me about it later.
Yeah, it's a cool little cap.
Liquid bread or something. I think it was called.
So whoever makes those caps, I guess I should have known that. Hey, if you're listening to the show, send me a few.
Orlando makes liquid bread's the one I bought.
There you go.
Hashtag liquid bread.
I figure if I just ask for stuff, maybe one day I'll be like, "What is this box of awesome stuff showing up?"
We gotta get listeners.
Yeah, well, you know,
Yeah.
I think I've had like 20 listeners up to this point, so I mean, we're kicking it.
And then John's story was the same way. He was a home brewer and then ended up brewing over at Cocoa Beach, and so he's the one that actually brought the professional aspect of this, and so he and I became friends when I first started coming to Bugnutty when it opened, and I brought in one of my beers, and he said, "Well, that's pretty good," and so I came in and helped brew a couple of times, and then just got more and more involved, and
it's always fun to come in and play.
Yeah, it really was. It still is.
So did he like refine a lot of the things that you already knew? I mean, did he bring things? That
Well,
like I said, this is great.
He knew a lot more about just brewing in general, and I had done a lot of research on different hops and things, and so I think a lot of it we just kind of put our knowledge together, and I think we're both better brewers as a result. And like I said, he certainly taught me everything I know about brewing at this level.
You know, how big did you get at home?
I was doing 5-gallon batches into a 7-gallon Blickman fermenter.
Oh, wow.
Still have that set up. When my daughter went off to college, we turned her room into a brewery. And have three taps at home and
Your
everything.
other child.
But we've been so busy here lately. I haven't brewed at home in a long time.
I just wondered because I know some people they dump a lot of cash at home. And I think that's why maybe that's why they start saying, "Hey, maybe I should do this professionally," because now I've got $7,000
to make
stuff at the
I want to make
house.
some of this back. Yeah.
I mean, that's why
Such
I
a
have to do
motivation.
this podcast. I got enough money in the equipment. I better start talking to people, and I gotta recoup some of that. Hey, my wife, she humors me, so she's good for that.
It's the only reason you're able to do this.
Exactly. I mean, I can
Certainly the only reason I'm able to do
board.
this.
Yes.
I can hear her roll her eyes when I start talking too much about the podcast, so I have to kind of bring it back.
Yeah.
Now that we've been here for 6 years, I know I've seen you at different little beer fests and things like that. You enter any sort of beer competitions or anything like that?
We haven't in a long time. So we are busy enough here that we haven't done a whole lot of that. We do go to a lot of the beer festivals, but we only do the charity ones. So we try and support the charities that mean something to us. Last year, when they had the big fires in Northern California, and Sierra Nevada did their big charity, where they sent out their recipe to every brewery who wanted to brew it.
Really?
And they said, "Hey, if you brew, you take this recipe, and we'll pay for the ingredients, and we ask that you donate all the profits to
I didn't even know about
to the fire relief." It was called the Resilience Project, and so we did that, and we opted to not have them pay for our ingredients. So we donated our ingredients, and we donated all the beer, and
Very cool.
and even for as small as we are, we raised over $2,000 for that relief.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And we were one of 1,500 or 1,800 breweries that did it, and most of them way bigger than us. And I think in total, the thing generated, $3 or $4 million.
Wow.
That's really cool.
For all the folks that were
How was the beer?
devastated by it, it was delicious. It was so funny because it was a very simple recipe, and so I kind of looked at it and said, "Boy, I would have thought more from Sierra Nevada." And we brewed it, and you take one sip, and you go, "That's a Sierra Nevada beer."
Really?
I mean, it had that quality to it. It It was really good. It sold really well. We sold out of it pretty quick.
Was it like a single hop type of
thing? It was a single hop thing, and it only had like two malts in it. I mean, it was a really simple recipe.
So were they? So was it something like all across the
whole country?
The nation?
Yeah.
Was it named the same thing?
Yep.
All that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That's really neat. How did I miss that? I don't know how I missed that.
Yeah, in fact, as you walk out, we have one of the tins on the wall that they sent us for having participated in called Resilience.
Nice. What was the name of that beer?
Resilience.
Resilience was the name of the beer?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was,
that's a really cool...
That's a great idea.
That's awesome.
Fun and helpful.
Exactly. Like, so you're having fun brewing the beer, you're doing it for a good cause, and then, of course, the people like us, where we're like, hey, this is just a good beer.
Yeah.
So we're also humanitarians while we're drinking beer.
You know what's so funny? I mean, it's something that, like, I'm sure everybody notices. Like, the craft beer movement is, because it's so local and it's so about, like, supporting people and stuff. I feel like every craft brewery supports charitable causes and does charity.
Well, and we all know each other,
awesome.
yeah,
it's like friendly competition.
It really is. Like Intercoastal, I ran out of an ingredient one time. I thought I had it and didn't. And so at 7 a.m, I realized I've already got beer going that I don't have the ingredients to finish.
Oh my goodness!
And so I called Donald over at Intra and I said, "God, can I borrow some lactose?" And so I wake my wife up. She drives down to Intra and gets a 50-pound bag of lactose at 7 a.m.
So great! That's awesome.
Well, and I think honestly where we're at now, especially I can say specifically in Brevard, just because this is the area I live in, but I wouldn't even say like competition. It's more the pie is big enough. There's enough pie to go around.
Right.
Well,
so for you to hoard,
yes,
it's not. There's nothing good for you.
If you're doing well, if the beer community is doing well, and it actually helps.
It
the
does,
other brewers, so
yeah,
kind of supporting each other in a sense.
Most craft beer nerds are going to wander from one to the next.
With the name Bugnutty, which I obviously understand doesn't mean anything directly related to an actual nut, does that still have you go towards a nutty variety of beer just for that?
No. We've done a couple of nutty beers, peanut butter one, obviously, and the walnut one we have on now, but no. We try and brew, like I said, a bunch of different styles. Try to stay true to style, so that if you come in and want a stout, it's a stout by style. And so no relationship between the name and the beers.
Well, the thing is, one of my favorites, has been for a long time. I've always liked the nut browns. Anything with that nutty flavor, it's really. Hey, if these guys are known for nutty beers, then I will make the drive, and I'll.
They're nutty, but just not the nut kind of.
We are nutty,
and then I will Uber from Cocoa back to Melbourne. So
yeah,
I don't care. So, since you're not known specifically for a nutty beer, what are you known for as far as beer types?
Like I said, mostly that we do a lot of traditional styles. Like I said, at any given time you come in, you'll find a pale ale, you'll find usually 3 or 4 different IPAs, you'll find a stout, you'll find a fruit beer, you'll find a pilsner.
So you guys do lagers.
So we do one lager consistently. That's our Para-G Pilsner. So try and just keep a bunch of different beers on because craft beer has turned into meaning so many different things to so many different people. So I always tell people when they come in and they have a flight, I said, if you like all of them, I'm probably doing something wrong. Hopefully there's enough wide variety there that I can offend somebody and still have them find something that they like.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
Because
you don't want your beer dumbed down where it's just super easy to drink for everybody.
My wife and I went to a brewery that I used to love who got bought out. I'll remain nameless. And we went to their tap room post buyout, and we had 12 of their beers in a flight. And my wife looked at me, she goes, I liked every single one of them. And she goes, and that's a problem. She goes, they were all middle of the road, all down there. She goes, I should have hated a third of them.
Yeah.
Just because her style is way different than mine.
Yeah.
And she goes, I liked them all. She goes, they were okay, but none of them were worth writing home about.
Yeah, I would agree that. We went to, you know what, I don't care, it's my show. Went to BJ's Brew House on Veterans Day. They had like a little thing for veterans, so me and my wife were both in the Army, so we partook in their hospitality. And I did notice like all of even like they had an IPA, and it was, and I'm not a huge IPA guy.
Right.
I'll be the first one to tell you that, but I do know what they should taste like or what I would like them to taste like, and it was not an IPA. It was like Diet Coke.
Yeah, well, they're a big chain, so they kind of have to.
Right,
They have
right.
to do what you're saying.
Go down the middle.
Yeah,
And I said, we're small, and we've done some wild things. For a competition a while back where you draw ingredients out of a hat, we drew juniper berries and wasabi.
What?
And
the heck?
so
Oh my
we
gosh.
brewed a double IPA, came in at about 9.5%, and we put a kilo of wasabi in it. And so
What did that taste like?
it was delicious, actually.
Really?
With either a roast beef sandwich or some sushi,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
amazing.
I mean,
Or some prime
I'm all
rib.
about
but a
trying
prime rib, but
crazy
it would
stuff,
blow the top of your head off. I
Is
mean,
it
it
really
was
spicy?
it was when you put a little too much wasabi on your sushi and it kind of opens your sinuses up. That's how this beer was every sip.
That is crazy.
And so people either really liked it or really hated it. We still have people come in and ask us for it, and we haven't done it in probably we did it 3 years ago. And
It's funny. Like when you said, there should be some beers that the person trying the flight,
Yeah.
doesn't like or hates.
right.
I thought in my head, I'm like, I'm one of those people that it's pretty much never happens that I dislike a beer unless it's like
Yeah,
quality.
like I said, there's
But I hate wasabi. I feel
Yeah.
like maybe you would have found the one because I hate the flavor. It's just not for me. Most people love. My
I
wife would
like
probably
wasabi, but probably for the same reason you hate it. I like that punch because I like spicy stuff, but it's not spicy the way like a pepper is spicy. It's like it's almost
it's really
spicy.
different.
It's almost spicy the way if you drink a Coke and it burns your nose. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get the
yeah.
bubbles in your nose
Yeah.
from drinking a Coke. That's what wasabi reminds me of. So it's got that thing on the tongue, but it like hits you in the
Yeah.
nose, like in the sinuses.
So it's like horseradish.
yeah,
both
well,
of
that's
those.
that's
Not for
honestly
me.
a lot of
I'll
wasabi.
eat
Most
peppers all
wasabi
day.
is horseradish.
Yeah. A lot of
That's
wasabi
why-
you
that
get
must be
is
why I hate
food coloring and horseradish.
Yeah.
So John's wife wanted a peppermint patty kind of beer, so chocolate and peppermint.
Yeah.
And so
that
John
sounds
whips up this recipe, and while he was making it, I was out here at the bar, and there was so much peppermint in the air that my eyes were just watering down my face. It was just the whole brewery smelled like this huge peppermint. And people either that was another beer. People either really liked it or really hated it. There was this couple from Orlando that came in every week. It drove from Orlando every single week
No
while that beer
way.
was on and filled 2 64-ounce growlers. It came every week until that beer
Wow.
was gone.
Was it it was a stout?
Yep.
You,
Yeah.
did you don't have
And
that
so-
still, do you?
No,
That's right
no,
up my
actually,
alley. I
but
would
we do
love
have
that.
we do have the grain for it, and we'll brew it before Christmas.
So the whole
that's-
place will smell like peppermint.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
pretty cool too.
Very festive.
Very
Just
yeah.
Get a little Christmas music playing while you brew it, and
I've only had a couple chocolate stouts that have peppermint in it, but they're Matt.
This
Matt
one is
McKee made one
hardcore
that's so good.
peppermint.
yeah, I mean peppermint can be one of those things that'll, like he was saying. I mean, I have some peppermint extract, peppermint oil, whatever, and like a drop of that is just
A little goes a long
yeah, exactly.
way.
It's very easy to overdo.
Kind of like wasabi. you
no,
might say.
nothing like wasabi. The more the merrier. But when I eat sushi, I mix the soy sauce. You end up with this like tan paste.
Exactly what
That-
my wife does.
That's how
So-
I
so
eat my
gross.
sushi. Well, there you go. Maybe she'll like me if we eat sushi together.
There you go.
Maybe I'll fix it. So, what is your number one seller? You would say?
It bounces back and forth between Zeus, which is kind of Zeus Will Smite Thee is kind of our flagship IPA, always has been. It's the one we distribute the most.
Yeah, we don't like this.
A close second is our 007 IPA. It's a single hop IPA. Back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we got an ad for this Idaho 7 hop. It comes out of Idaho, and we'll try it. $6 a pound. We'll give it a shot. But it's delicious. It spins off pineapple notes and citrus, and it's
Ooh.
got a real robust aroma. So we started using it in beers, and then we made that beer specifically, and then that hop caught on, and now it's harder to
Now
get
it's
and way more
expensive.
expensive.
Yeah.
But
We heard the very similar story at the last interview we did.
Yeah.
It was Citra though.
But yeah,
Everybody
Citra's always
knows that one
Citra's
blew up.
always
Yeah.
a problem. But anyway, so it's a good single hop beer, and those two bounce back and forth between being number one and number two. A close third is our Irish Red, Susie's Red Belly.
Oh, really?
Let's see, I like an Irish red. So.
I do too. I would have thought
And
that
ours
would
is
be
really
super popular.
really good. It's really well balanced, and it's just got some real deep flavor to it. That's a beer John's been brewing forever and ever, and
Oh, so that came from him, kind of.
that was one of his pet beers, and like I said, it sells really well.
But what would you say you find yourself drinking the most?
I'm probably more like you. I'm all over the map. I'm a hophead at heart, so I always gravitate back to IPAs. But in any given week, I'll work my way back and forth across our taps.
That is like me.
And when I go to a brewery, I usually try and get a flight of every beer a brewery has.
That's all I ever do. Flights.
And you should.
I want to drink everything.
I'm gonna have to do this for Dave. Go ahead and ask him. What do you want him to brew, Dave?
You got to brew a Doppelbock. Have you ever done a Doppelbock? You have? How did that come out?
It's delicious.
Nobody ever does them, it seems like.
So we didn't do any of our Oktoberfest beers this year because that was right during the middle of the build out. So we didn't do our Marzen.
You said you guys were actually closed for a little while.
We were actually closed from July to October.
Oh, so, wow. The only brewery in the United States that didn't brew a Marzen Oktoberfest.
But next year come back and we actually do a Weizen Doppelbock.
Oh, cool.
That we call Copernicus. That is a really unique beer and really drinkable.
I will definitely come by for that.
So
next year you said you were going to do that?
Yeah, we'll get back into our normal schedule next year.
Awesome.
You see how nice of a guy I am? I know what this guy likes to drink, so I make sure
very nice
I give him that segment to say.
I'm always pushing people to brew. It's such a fantastic style. It's got so much going on. And I know it takes longer, obviously, to brew waters. I don't know if it's...
But with as many tanks as we have, we can afford to do some experimental stuff that takes a while.
That is awesome.
And so you said you're primarily a hophead.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll drink anything. And I think I'm not a hophead, but I will try everything just because I think you'll get a well-rounded... Like if they just say I only had the red and it's a good red, then that's all I have is a vision for you guys is, hey, they make a good red. So what about the rest of the rest? I don't know. But I feel like you get a good story almost if you try everything.
Right.
You kind of get
more.
You're more well-rounded in. So you'd be like, good brewery overall, or horrible brewery. They didn't make one thing that was good.
Or you could be like, well, their hoppy stuff's really good, but they're not so great with their darker beers are kind of okay. So you might know what to go to there for.
Yeah. So what John always says and what John always does the first time he goes to a brewery is he always tries a Kolsch or a Pilsner or something because you can't hide any mistakes.
That's
one
the
of
second
those
time we've heard that. Actually, that's like the third time I've heard that.
So you'll hear a lot of brewers say that because it's the truth. You go in there, if there's any flaw in your process, any flaw in your sanitation, any flaw in any part of what you do in your temperatures or anything, you can't hide it in a beer like that. So if you can make a good Kolsch, which most people will say, well, that's there's not a lot going on in that beer. Well, that's
a good thing.
That's a good thing. There shouldn't be anything going on in that beer. You did it right.
And do you have a Kolsch?
We haven't done a Kolsch. We do have our Pilsner on. If I put that in the kind of the same category where you're a beer you can't hide anything in.
One of my episodes, so you'll have to listen if you want to know this too. I'm begging for listeners, for people I'm interviewing to see this. But if you listen to one of my episodes, I'm not a very very easily shamed guy. So one of my episodes, we had somebody who I mentioned before. He's been brewing professionally since '91, so he's been in for a while, and he has very strong opinions on how a Kolsch should be served, how it should be everything. And it's honestly, it was for me knowledge-wise, I was just like, I had no idea. I'm just the guy who likes to drink beer and thought it would be cool to talk about it because I like to talk and I like to drink. So when he dropped a knowledge bomb on me, I was just like blown away. I was like, wow, he's got more beer in his pinky nail than I've got in my whole brain. Yeah. So I was like,
it's a good way of looking at it. This is like the best way to learn about beer. Start your own podcast and interview tons of brewers.
Yeah, they've done a bunch of brewers.
Well, and the cool thing is
easy peasy.
You get really cool stories, like this being a former Buick dealership. I mean, that's really cool. And my grandparents were down here at that time, so when I go home, I'm probably going to talk to them and say, hey, do you remember this being a Buick dealership?
They might.
They might. That kind of stuff. So those are kind of things that, really intrigue me, which is the whole reason I wanted to do this. Because, when you think of your beer, it's usually a nameless, faceless person making it. So I figured, let's put the humanity into...
Put a voice to it.
Yeah, there you go. Put a beard to your beer. So, yes, all three of us at this table do have a beer.
I noticed that at our last interview too. Everybody had a beard.
Was that? Yeah. You're right. So I feel like that's a trend in beer.
Have you always had a beard?
No, I just retired from the Space Center in February, and so I was had hair shorter than yours and no beard for a long time, and so kind of gone the other direction since I
That's funny.
I'm done working. Grow.
Well, this is actually trimmed down. It was a lot longer.
You went all in.
Yeah.
My wife hates when mine gets a little unkempt, so I have to kind of.
I was looking a little homeless there for a while. I went from brewer to homeless. I needed to get back to brewer.
We'll brew for food.
That hobo beard.
We've got a couple of bouncing back and forth number one sellers. If you have, I realize you were kind of closed for a little bit just because you were moving. What is your, if you have a seasonal beer that kind of pops up every year, what's the big one that people kind of look forward?
Our biggest seasonal is our Sputnik Russian Imperial Stout. We brew it once a year. We usually brew it in late January, early February, but it gets released on April the 12th, which is Yuri's Night, the anniversary of the first human spaceflight.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
So it usually clocks in between 11 and 12%. And we do a bottle run of that. And so we date the bottles so people save them year over year and do vertical tastings and things like that.
I've never had
so
the patience.
Right up my alley.
This guy right here, he'll age some beer and like that's his thing. I'll look at it and be like, I have to. No, I got. And then it's inevitably
really
gone.
See, my problem is I won't drink them. I have a bottle.
I've got a bunch of stuff I probably need to drink.
Me
this
too.
year.
I've got a bottle of 120 in my house that I think is from 2008 or something like that. There's no way it's probably terrible now.
That's
but I'm like, I can't drink my oldest beer.
I have some 2012 Firestone Parabola. Is probably the oldest beer I have.
Where'd you get that from?
Right now, I used to travel to California quite a bit.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, I'm just afraid, like you said, like it's probably not good anymore. I would be like, oh my gosh, I missed out on that.
I don't know if you're doing it right, a lot of them will.
Yeah, five years will go pretty good for a heavy stout like that. But I
do the Brooklyn Black Chocolate Stout. It's my big one. I've got tons of them.
The other cool thing is when we release that beer, we do a bottle release. We release it on draft, but we also every year save a sixtel from the previous year. So we like this year we re-released 2018 when we released 19, and then here in a few months we'll release the 20 and then re-release the 19.
That's
so
really
will you have three?
No.
You're just going to do two.
It's always 1 year back.
Oh, so, you use the whole thing up.
Yeah, it sells out quick.
Yeah.
But we always keep one back so you can do a year over year tasting on draft here at the brewery. So
what day in April did you say?
The 12th, April 12th. Better put it on your calendar.
I'm literally going to do that right now.
The bottles usually sell out within a week, and then the draft usually within a couple of weeks. It isn't on long.
That's awesome. I mean, and I know this guy likes the Russian Imperials too, so that's.
You just missed it. We did save a keg, and when we did our grand opening last month, we did kick out a sixtel of that, and like I said, it lasted about 2 days.
Dang.
You said April 12th, right?
Yeah.
I think that's Easter Sunday this year.
Oh no!
At least that's what my calendar says.
That could be.
You'll have a lot of very fancy dressed people here.
I will not be fancy. I might be here, but I won't be one of the fancy dressed people.
Joe's not a fancy dresser.
I mean, I'm pretty fancy. I mean, there's a nice little pattern on these shorts. I mean, for shorts, they're pretty fancy. I mean, I'm wearing closed-toed shoes, so I mean, that's pretty fancy for me.
Some of our other seasonals, like in the summertime, we do a watermelon wheat, but we only do it. The timing on that is strictly dependent on when the watermelons are good.
That makes sense.
Last year the watermelons never were sweet enough to pass the test, and so we skipped it.
Oh wow!
This year we did it, and the watermelons were amazing, and so the beer was amazing, and so there's about 14 watermelons in a 2-barrel batch.
Wow!
It worked. It's like 12 or 14% watermelon by volume. It's a good,
what's the WPV on that?
Same way with mangoes. We get the Merritt Islands, famous for mangoes, and so you get nice, fresh, really ripe Merritt Island mangoes and put it in a pale ale. And
now
delicious.
The mangoes that you use, because I actually have recently kind of come to appreciate the mango, because it used to be where I would get them. The big green ones that look like a softball,
right?
But they're super fibrous, and you get that stuck in your teeth when you're eating them.
Yeah, the ones here at Merritt Island are a little smaller than a football, or like a couple pounds a piece, and they're really smooth and
very little fiber.
I remember hearing a while ago they used to be all mango farms, like most of Merritt Island, right?
Yeah, there's still quite a few down South Merritt Island.
Oh, really?
I had this one recently. It's like it's shaped like a kidney. And it's not very. It's probably, I don't know the exact size of my kidneys, but it's not very big. Yeah. And those are pretty good. Those are really smooth. I don't know a lot about my kidneys. Sorry.
You should probably.
I should probably worry more about my liver. But but yeah, I mean, so it's I don't know, roughly the size of like a hamburger, 2 hamburger patties together, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's like the shape of a kidney, and it's yellow, and those are really nice. They got a good sweet flavor, and they're not fibrous at all. So So I'm really happy with those ones. So I actually planted the pit. So I've got some tiny little mango trees growing now. So
you can source their next beer.
Well, the thing about it was I put them in a pot, and I got the pit all good to go. I'm getting the little plants. We got squirrels, and they're like, "Ooh, free seed!" And I had to like fight the squirrels off because I keep coming over, and the plants are knocked over, and I'm like, "Come on, get out of here!" Like I used to leave peanuts for the squirrels, but now, I mean, I'm very unhappy with them. So, are there any beers that are currently in the works? So, something kind of like your Sputnik, where it's kind of a limited release, all this stuff. Is there anything that's currently in the works that's not on tap now that you?
There's one that actually is will go on tap tomorrow. It's actually there. We haven't started serving it yet. Is our Red Tail Squadron. It's a double IPA. It comes in about 9.5%. It's a double red IPA. We'll release
Did you say
tomorrow.
It's on tap yet?
Yeah, so you guys can try it. The rest of the world can have it. The rest of the world can have it tomorrow.
It's like Saturday came a day early for me.
Yeah, right.
This is the real reason. Now we're talking about why I do the show. This is it right here. No one else gets it before we do that.
It's really fun when you get somebody that's really interested and you give them a tour of the brewery and you go pull something out of the bright tank. It's not only is it not on tap, it's really not even all the way done yet.
Yeah.
And you get somebody who's really into beer. And you go, I get to try a beer that's coming right out of a tank.
That's good. It's great for a beer. It's something you don't get to.
That's the real Christmas.
That is absolutely.
And when we're brewing, in this location, when we're brewing, when I'm doing a hop edition, and there are people sitting where we're sitting now, I'll hold the hops out and stick their face in it, and give it a big old sniff. And again, if you're really into beer, you go, "Oh God, that's amazing."
That's really cool.
We came up with an idea, kind of on the air with Todd not too long ago, where we were talking about he makes kind of a lighter, kind of like the Corona with lime.
Yeah.
And he makes it, and it's really good. And he said part of the reason is because people were asking for limes, put the lime in there, and then you do see where people put a lime on the side of one like that. And then we talked about if you made something really hoppy, if you just put a single cone.
People would eat it. So we used to have when we do tours, we had some barley out for people to try, and then we had hops so they could smell them. And invariably, somebody will, "Can I eat a hop?" So it won't hurt you, but please don't do it. You won't be able to taste anything for the rest of the day. And invariably, pop it in.
So that's basically what the problem is. half your customers are going to end up losing their sense of taste.
Oh yeah, so somebody would eat it and they wouldn't be tasting anything for 2 days.
It's too obvious of an idea. I guess it makes sense that nobody does that. I knew that.
I never thought about that. Yeah,
drop a couple grains of some grains of barley.
The other fun season.
The barley would float on top of a nice toasted barley. Float on top of like a darker beer. That would be kind of cool.
You don't want to get a mouthful of barley.
The other cool seasonal we do is John and I come in every New Year's Day, and we brew a triple. Belgian triple. And so we call the triple Dog Darien. And in fact, it just blew too. It was on tap, so we saved that for our grand opening as well. Anyway, but on leap years, which is coming up, we forego the triple and we do a Belgian quad called our quadrennial quaff. And last leap year we did, and we release it on leap day. So we brew it New Year's Day and then release it on the 29th of February. When we did it last year, it was 14%, and was just smooth and easy drinking. And it went down like a 7%er, and so we'll do that again this year.
Okay, so we'll be here February 29th and April 12th.
I will actually be in Europe on February 29th, but
Well,
sorry, guys.
by the time you get, don't say sorry. I'm sorry for you.
Can you save me
but then
some?
again, if you go to Belgium, then you're okay. If
I'll
you
be
make
in France, actually. I think.
That's close.
Well,
We'll get some
Actually,
beers there.
France is. People don't realize. I think there's more breweries in France than I read, like any other country or something. They brew like crazy. They're not just about wine.
Yeah. Well, I know when I went to Italy, I didn't find that to be true. I found it to be a lot more wine than beer.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to find beer, except for at McDonald's. They have beer at McDonald's in Italy, which is awesome.
Worth it.
I was like, I don't even know what beer this is, but I will have it. So
It is better than Coke.
get a Royale with cheese.
Yeah, right.
Now we are going to get to my last couple of fun questions here. Well, I guess all of them are fun-ish, but so I realize you work at a brewery. You can pretty much get beer anytime you'd like.
Yep.
I would think. For some reason, you can't get your own beer, or for some reason, you got to go to the old 7-Eleven. Cling, cling, cling. You know, the little bell at the top of the door. You got to go to you got to do the walk of shame to their beer cooler. What are you grabbing at the 7-Eleven?
So I don't know about the 7-Eleven. My go-to beer is Stone Ruination.
Oh my gosh.
Or Sublimely Self-Righteous when you can find it.
They're amazing.
Arrogant bastard.
You have a really good gas station there.
I mean, just Stone in general. A little plug for Stone. There's a lot of hops that are that have such a short half-life that they weren't used commercially, and their whole enjoy by idea. Like, hey, I'm going to use this hop that's really good, but I know it's only good for 45 days, and so I'm going to write that right on the label. Hey, that's going to taste like crap after 45 days. Better drink it now.
Meanwhile, Dave's going to age the heck out of that beer.
No way. You do not age IPAs, man. Trust me. 120 is pretty much the only one.
But yeah, Dogfish 120 is another one. It was a couple years ago. John and I were sitting in the brewery, and our local ABC store had it on their growler station. So I went and got a growler, and so we were drinking it and get about halfway through, and oh jeez, starting to hit it, and I find out it's 18%. And about that time, my daughter walked in, and she said, "Well, hey, what's going on?" So we need you to go to ABC again. So we hand her the growler. We make her go get us another growler.
What's that do a bit?
She goes, 2 brewers sitting in a brewery are sending me out for beer. And, yep.
That wasn't here, was it?
What's that? That was at the other place. But yeah, here in Merritt Island.
They had a 120 at an ABC.
Yep, on the growler station.
How much of that must have been expensive?
No, it was like $20, $22.
You must have
cheap.
You must have better ABCs than we got, because there is no growler station at my.
No, in fact, they just added a bar too, so now you can get a beer or a glass of wine while you're shopping.
What? Where is this? What ABC is this?
Right there in Merritt Island.
No way.
Oh, that's what Merritt Island.
I just moved near Lucky's, and
yeah, they're a great store too. They sell a lot of our beer there.
But you know what? They changed it used to be $8 for a growler, which was fantastic, no matter what you got. And I guess they were like, "Wow, we're really losing money when we have these heavy." So now it ends up being like $24 or something for the good.
Well, I mean, some of those sixtels, retail for they can be over $100.
Oh yeah,
so to me, you get some, especially something like a Dogfish, you're gonna spend a lot of money.
Like $300 for that thing. Seriously.
Well, I actually, every time I go to Lucky's to do a little shopping, I don't know why, because it seems to be like early on a Sunday. So I feel bad about like drinking beer, especially.
Why?
Well, because I have to work also on that day.
Culture is just
so
telling you
I'm
that.
like, you know what? I'm not going to be a gross person, so I drink a cider instead.
That's like breakfast. Yeah, that's all good.
It's like a mimosa.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So for somebody, it's only okay to drink before noon on a Sunday if it's a mimosa or possibly a Bloody Mary. So that's
I'm gonna use the term the kids like to say. That triggers me. That whole time of day.
Are you sure you used that correctly? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, but I don't know. And now that I've gone there enough times that it's just kind of my.
They're like, oh, that's the alcoholic. It's okay.
No, to me, it's just almost the ritual. So I almost always get a cider when I walk into Lucky's. Like, hey, you got a cider? Cool.
Yeah, they've always got at least one cider.
Yeah, they've always got one sort of cider. So I usually get a cider while I'm there. So I just think that's kind of neat. gas station beer. We're just going to stick with not an actual gas station, maybe a really fancy Publix.
You don't get gas station beer. This is what it comes down to.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm not hearing any Busch Light coming out of his mouth here. So
not if I can avoid it. No.
So you go to a party and you didn't bring your own beer. What about that? You go to somebody else's party, a backyard barbecue. What are you grabbing from their cooler?
Yeah, what if they only have like Bud Light? And will you drink it?
I will drink it. I'll chase a Corona first if I got it. But no, I'm not. I have no shame.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'll drink a Bud Light if that's all there is.
Any port in a storm.
You gotta check. I always push this on everybody. If they ask the guy who's running the party, "Do you have a bottle of whiskey?" Put a little bit of whiskey in it. It tastes a lot better.
Just bring a flask.
Bring your own flask.
I generally bring a growler, but so you avoid that situation.
Well, and that is the good thing about growlers. You're like, hey, I brought real beer.
By the way, I'm going to invite you to all my parties. If you're bringing a 6-pack of Stone Ruination everywhere you go,
I'm just gonna. I mean, if he's bringing growlers, let's see, we'll say March 1st, I'm gonna invite him so we can get that quad.
Oh yeah,
my party.
Yeah, that would be a party.
That would be. I mean, awesome party. Or if you get that 120, that.
One of my birthday parties that I did nothing fancy whatsoever, but my wife bought me a bunch of quads, and this is before like Pandora was big and all, well, I guess Pandora has always been around, but I was sitting on my computer, just sitting there and plugged into the surround sound system, like laptop physically plugged in, and going on YouTube, drinking quads, picking out which music videos I wanted to listen/watch, and I passed out at some point. I was
Sounds like a good day.
Like literally, I did nothing.
Quads are tricky, man.
Oh my god,
they punch you harder than you think
they're so good too. I mean, that nice malty sweetness, all this stuff. Which is funny because
so much going on. It kind of
my mother-in-law loves a quad. She's not a huge beer person. Like if she could taste even half a hop flavor in there, she's not in it at all. But she loves a quad. Yeah. I call her a sugar bug because when she makes coffee, there'll be more creamer than coffee in there. It's like I could use this as the creamer. Your coffee, I could use as creamer for my coffee. Yeah. I mean, she's that far into it. We were talking to another brewery not too long ago, and they mentioned that they were really big into coffee as well. Do you have that vice, or are you just a Maxwell House guy? Or
no, again, having spent some time in Seattle, thick, dark roast that you can stand a spoon up in, espresso frequently, and I'm definitely start the day as a caffeine achiever.
So you've had to have incorporated that in some of your beers, obviously.
We have, and that's we actually at some point talked about roasting coffee and so that you can open in the morning to make use of the space when you're not doing it
because you got the kitchen, you could do breakfast.
It's an idea that's bounced around we really haven't done anything with, but we both like coffee, and so it's just been
it
an
seems
idea that's
like
bouncing around.
A lot of folks who are into beer are also going to be into coffee. So except for Zach, apparently Zach is the one exception.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like I don't like coffee at all. Like he's like no coffee in his life.
There's sort of kind of a similarity to me between beer and coffee. They're both, especially if you're talking about, like you were saying earlier, like the simple, basic beers, you can't hide things. It's such an open style of beer where you can appreciate the tiny nuances in it. And coffee, I feel like, is the same way. If somebody's not big into beer, they'll drink these lighter styles and they'll taste the same to them. Same with coffee. Right. They can drink any coffee and they'll taste the same.
Folgers, Maxwell House,
all the same. But when you're into it and your palate grows, it's like whiskey is the same thing too. It ruins your palate if you're not into it, but when you're into it, it's like, wow, there's such a difference from one to the other.
That's very true. I mean, I'm just thinking of some of the people who helped develop the name for my podcast versus the other name I was going for. Yeah. They're the Budweiser Maxwell House crew.
These are the people you're taking advice from? Come on.
Well, I mean, I do share DNA with some of these people, so I mean, I have to value their opinion. But yeah, that is kind of funny that the name kind of came from them and all this kind of came from them. But Yeah, it's really true. Like Maxwell House, that's a big one, or whatever the store brand is, even where it's like oh, Sam's Choice or whatever. Like that's the one. Like,
yeah, they're not all necessarily bad, but there's just so many options.
But they're not good.
But they're not good.
They might not be bad, but they're not good. So, well, I think that we've gotten a lot of good stuff here. We're gonna go ahead and take a break, and we're about to get to everybody's favorite segment. Well, we're going to try a little bit of beer.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, we'll be right back.
And now it's time to drink a beer.
All right, we're back. It's only been a few minutes in our time, so not the hour or so that we've had in the past a couple of times. But I know for you guys, it sounds like it's been about 10 seconds. So we're back. We're going to drink some beer. We've got, I don't know, what do we got? 10 of them? 10 beers here. And I'm starting to salivate. Once again, I haven't had breakfast, so I'm about to have breakfast.
Breakfast time.
So we'll start. I'll leave it to you. You're the man on the mic, and
we'll kind of work our way from lightest to darkest and least hoppy to most hoppy in general. The first one you're going to try is our Perigee Pilsner. It's one of the few lagers that we do. Comes in right around 5%, a nice easy drinking thing. And back to our earlier conversation about this is a beer that you can't hide anything in, just a nice traditional pils.
And maybe because I'm one of the unwashed huddled masses type, what is perigee?
Perigee is the top part of an orbit, so that's an orbital term.
Some good space here. So
it's the opposite of apogee.
It's fantastic. It's got a good nose to it, like a lot of lighter styles. You get kind of like a real thick cereal.
That's perfect,
kind of smell,
though. Yeah.
It's got a sweet aroma, but it's like a clean sweet aroma.
But very, very true to style.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be
awesome.
if you have somebody who only drinks something that comes from one of the big guys. This is the first beer you give them.
Gateway beer.
Exactly.
Right.
The old gateway beer.
It's got a ton of flavor.
It's
for a light, easy to drink beer.
Yeah, that's a very gorgeous beer. Well done.
Super good.
All right, so we ready to move on?
Yeah.
I'm always ready.
All right, so the next one is called Flaky Blonde. And it's called Flaky Blonde because it's a blonde ale, and it's got a bunch of flaked grains, and it's got flaked barley and some other flaked grains in there that give
flake grains. They make it give it a
give it
body.
It gives it some texture, so it's got a little bit of mouthfeel there. This one also has coriander and sweet orange peel in it.
I was going to ask about the orange.
Smell it.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, so it's
awesome.
got a nice background to it that complements the grains.
That's real clean. I like that.
Nice spicy, citrusy.
Yeah, when you said orange peel, I was like, I had it on my tongue. I was like,
the combination of that and the coriander really, and it makes the brewery smell really good when we make it.
Oh, I bet it does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's another one that's coming in right on the lower end of things, or at least lower end for us, about around 5%.
It's great. Two typically mild styles that can be so flat and flavorless. You got so much flavor in both.
No, those are very well done.
You nailed these both.
All right, next we're going to move on to another one of the beers we distribute. It's our Ricky Carroll Pineapple Tiki Beer.
Ooh. I just like saying that. Ricky Carroll Pineapple Tiki Beer.
So Ricky Carroll is a local legend surfboard shaper here in the area, and they were looking to have a beer with their name on it. And
so they approached you about it?
They approached us, and we...
oh, man, that's some good pineapple.
So we did a pineapple pale ale, which they hated because it was a little too bitter, tasted a little too beerish. So then we did this wheat beer with pineapple.
I like how you use the word beerish.
Yeah.
Because for people who drink craft beer, that's what beerish is. Pale ale,
just like when you come into the brewery to have a beer and it smells too beerish.
And so we don't do a whole lot of flavored beers, but this is a good example of one. When we do flavors, we don't do extracts or anything. This has 42 pounds of pineapple puree in it. I mean, so it's real, no kidding pineapple.
I've had so many different beers that have pineapple notes or pineapple. I've never had that much pineapple come through.
Like, so the extracts all taste a little chemically. We don't do them.
Oh no, it almost tastes like a fresh shandy kind of.
Yep. So that's a good lawnmower beer.
What's the base style on this one?
It's a wheat beer.
It's a wheat. Wow, man.
That's very nice.
This is how you get people who aren't big into wheat beers to,
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
enjoy one.
it complements the pineapple really well, and another one that just goes down.
I think that's the first beer that's that pineapple-y. Because I've had a cider before,
right?
But to incorporate,
they always have that
beer,
Carib one at
Lucky's. Exactly. So yeah, I've had many of those while walking around Lucky's. But if you mix that with a nice wheat beer, I've never thought to do that. So this is almost a cocktail in a way, in and of itself. It's almost a cocktail here in the glass.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. You ever have that? What is it called? Schlaffenhofer or whatever it is. It's that. You always see them in the can. It's a rattler.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, the grapefruit one. Yeah,
it's like a pineapple version of that sort of.
Yeah. I would agree to that.
It's not a Hefeweizen though, right?
Nope.
Super good.
Or next, we're going to move on to our Susie's Red Belly Ale. Susie was John's dog, and she had a lot of allergies, and so her belly was always red, and so that's where the name came from. Susie's
Funny
Red Belly
thing to name
Ale.
a beer.
There you go.
You know, it's funny. It's okay to name a beer after something like that, but if you name a food dish after it, all of a sudden it's like,
it's less
well,
appetizing.
I don't think I want this.
A food about a dog's belly psoriasis.
I don't know what food you could even shoehorn that into.
So that's just a classic
Something with
Irish
peppers.
red, nice and
Pepper
malty,
flakes.
well-rounded, just an all-around easy drinking beer. This is another one that we lure people over to craft beer with, because if you've had a Killian's or something, this is something that
it's got a nice
that you can go with. And
I was going to say, if you're somebody who will branch away from a Budweiser and will go, so I'm still saying mainstream,
right?
I'm a little bit risk taker as far as the mainstream beers go. Somebody who's had. Do you remember those back in like the 90s? They had Red Dog and Red Wolf.
No,
You don't remember those?
No,
Red
I never
Dog.
had that.
Oh my gosh!
Sounds like a malt liquor.
No, I mean maybe it was, but I remember this because I stayed over at my uncle's house one time, and he had a shirt. He lent me a shirt, and it had Red Dog, and they actually named one of their dogs Red Dog.
After that,
After that beer, but it was
never heard of it.
Yeah, it was from like the 90s. I think it was like Coors or someone like that. But one was Red Wolf, and the other was Red Dog.
Red Wolf was the
I
alcohol version.
feel like
the ice version, or
maybe
something.
maybe Red Wolf was like the malt liquor,
Yeah.
and Red Dog was like a little bit, Yeah, but look them up. Everybody, look them up and tell Dave all about it.
So Susie's is made with Maris Otter grain and Puggles hops, so all the traditional elements you'd expect to find in a red like that. Yeah, just a really, really good red ale.
Oh, and he's taking that one to the head.
Next, we're going with the Festive Idiot. Like I mentioned before, we had our Nutty Idiot, which we did with our friends at the Village Idiot here in Cocoa Village. And then we did a version of it that is our Christmas seasonal, where we added. That's got chocolate, vanilla, nutmeg, and cinnamon.
That's what it is. It was something I couldn't quite get.
And the chocolate's from the really nice Ghana cocoa nibs, so they're steeped in the fermenter, and so that's what make the real expensive dark chocolate out of. And Madagascar vanilla again, and with our flavors, they're all real. No kidding.
This one's got the best nose out of all of them.
I was gonna say it's got a. I'm trying to think.
I just want to smell it all day.
Well, I don't want to. I hate saying like potpourri because then it sounds like you're eating something. But that's the only for somebody who's not physically here.
It smells like Christmas magic.
There was a lady that came in and she goes, "I feel like I'm drinking a Christmas wreath." I'll take that as a compliment. I think.
Everybody loves Christmas wreaths.
I know. I felt bad for saying potpourri because then you're just thinking like. Is this stuff granola? No, you're eating potpourri. What are you doing?
Well, it's much drier. It's funny when the nose is different than the flavor.
Yeah, it is very different.
Like a few seconds on.
It's like a nice little bite.
Cinnamon.
I like it.
Cinnamon kind of peppery thing that cinnamon does.
Yeah, all the flavors kind of layer in there.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one. So I love bringing this up because it's the most irritating thing in the world to me. So you guys can't just take a couple kegs of this, put it in the truck and drive it over to the Village Idiot to serve it.
Nope. Nice Florida three-tiered system.
Honestly, the way that the ground sloped, you could almost roll it down the hill here and just let it roll.
You could say it was an accident. We didn't actually transport it over.
It could honestly almost just by gravity roll to the Village Idiot from here.
So what actually happens is that it goes from here to Orlando to a warehouse, and then it goes to the Village Idiot that's 600 feet over that way.
No,
Well, same way next door. Yeah, they buy our beer next door, and same way it's got to go to Orlando.
You ever wish that you started? You ever wish you started out as a distributor instead of?
There's certainly more money in distributing than brewing.
The guys next door, you could drill a hole in the wall and run a
tap through. Yeah.
I love bringing up the whole Charlie and Jake's couldn't serve their own beer at their second location.
Right.
You know about that?
You got to distribute it.
Blew me away. I'm like, you can't even distribute it to yourself.
Hourglass just opened their second location. Same thing.
You have to build your own.
Terrible.
They're awesome
in each location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what you.
If you have a brew system in either one, you can share back and forth between two production breweries.
So that's like the only workaround, basically.
Right. But if you're not producing beer, it's just a bar, and you got to go through the.
Put a Mr. Beer Kit in one of your locations, and then you have the full setup. And then, hey man, I'm just transferring between my locations.
You got to get licensed.
They catch you there too, because you can only transfer as much as the least producing place. So.
They thought of everything.
Yeah.
Somebody probably
tried it. I don't want to sidetrack too much, but do you happen to know? Is there any like movement in the craft beer industry local for to help overturn the?
So the Florida Brewers Guild has had that on the agenda for several years, and there've been the last several years. There's been a bill introduced that's died. I don't know whether it's going to be on the docket again this year, but now that is a priority with the guild.
But I mean, the growler law died multiple times too.
It did, and it finally went through. Yep,
there's hope.
There is hope. So that again, that's a real priority with the guild, and Josh Abishon, who's our lawyer for the guild, does a really good job for us up there. That would pushing those kind of things and lobbying for us. Yep.
Could you imagine?
So I know what we've got here with the beers we've had thus far. The only one that's been really like different is the one we just had. And I was thinking in my mind, kind of food pairings you would have with all of these. And I'm just trying to think what would be in something you have on the menu or something you don't, whatever, something that would go with that very floral kind of.
So those if we have a bunch of chicken wings, we bake our wings instead of fry them, and we make all our own sauces here. We do a mango habanero wing that the combination of the mango and the pineapple, and the spice would wash that down really well.
Real tropical, yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, we gotta talk to them in advance next time we go to a place that serves food. Like, any way you can serve some food during the beer.
Well, I mean, there is, and I'm going to mention it again. I do have a TV show idea that is going to be kind of a food / beer pairing,
and it will happen,
and it's gonna happen. So I'll just, because I already have the business side of it. It'll definitely have a different name, but it'll kind of fall under the whole business umbrella there.
Yeah, you have food focus in the
exactly. So it's gonna happen. I figured with this podcast, a lot of low overhead for me. Then eventually, once this starts rolling, then I'll have some sort of fan base, and I figure that would be something. So I guess what I'm saying is we're gonna
Bugnutty episode for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're gonna be back. But that time you'll probably be on camera. So I guess I'll even have to wear something other than shorts, possibly.
No, I mean, dress like a schmuck. That could be your thing.
Bill Schmojo's food review.
So now we're moving on to Hoppy. IPA. So the first one is our Zeus Will Smite Thee, kind of our flagship IPA. Kind of a more, we call it a Florida IPA. Not terribly bitter. A lot of late edition hops that give it more of the citrusy floral notes that you'd expect. Comes in a little over 7%, and but still goes down nice and easy.
So you mentioned this is kind of the flagship. This is the one that kind of pays the bills, so to speak.
Yeah, this is the one that you'll find in bars and restaurants around here.
I know. I've been having this one for years.
Yeah. So what's your percentage-wise? You would just, I mean, you don't have to have exact numbers, but percentage-wise, how many of these do you sell to? Is this like 40% of all your beers?
No,
or, what's the numbers? Yeah, I figured it was a little high, but.
Well, I maybe 10%. 10%
of all.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and then so between that one and the other IPA,
007. Yeah, the IPAs are probably a quarter or a third of what we do between 007 and the Zeus, and then we always have at least one double on.
So if this beer is about roughly 10% of your volume that you sell.
Yeah.
How many varieties, you said off the air earlier? How many varieties have you guys made just this year?
40 some odd.
40 some odd.
Unique
so that's actually
beers.
pretty impressive that it's 10% out of that many different.
Yeah. We roll a lot of beers through here.
It's so crazy.
That's what makes it fun. I mean, if I, as much as I love Zeus, if that was the only beer I had to come in and brew, time after time, you get bored real quick. So.
Brewing that often and that many different styles, I feel like, because I remember Intercoastal, that was kind of their thing at the very beginning.
Yeah, it was when they opened, they didn't have any core beers. All they did was one-offs. Yeah.
Which I kind of loved that idea too. So I feel like a big issue you would run into is, I'm brewing this beer. This is the only shot I have at making this. Do you ever have beers? I know you said you never really had beer come out bad. You pretty much serve every single one. Have you ever disappointed in any of them? Or?
No, we've never really had. Actually, we had one. We bought some hoses that were supposed to be food grade and weren't, and so we actually dumped out a couple of batches because not because the beer was bad, but they went through a hose and picked up weird flavors from the hose and had to really nasty, so I had to dump it. But
and that's something
that's really the only one.
I would applaud you for that because I know there are people that be like, "Well, we brewed it, you're drinking it."
It was.
I applaud you for that.
No, I've seen that happen before.
We just couldn't serve it. It wasn't up to our standards, and so we dumped I think in total about 8 barrels that went down the drain, which really
what
sucked.
was it? Do you remember what it was?
It was a couple of batches. Zeus was one of them, and I don't remember what else was in flow at the time. But
you can't even fake it with Zeus because it's such a everyone knows what Zeus should taste like. So if it didn't taste right, you couldn't even be like, no, this is what we put in.
A beer that's been on tap forever, and it's a lot of people's favorite beer, and so you don't want to.
If it's a one-off, you can be like, we
meant to do that.
This is called
name it after it.
This is called Silicone Zeus.
Steve's crazy chemical blend. Wow, you nailed the chemical flavor. Actually,
perfect.
I could totally taste it.
So the next one is a 007. Like I mentioned, it's that hop out of Idaho called Idaho 7, and it spins off some cool pineapple flavors. So in contrast to the Ricky Carroll, which actually has pineapple, no pineapples were harmed in the making of this beer.
All from the hops.
But all from the hops and just the one hop really kind of showcases.
Yeah, you really do get pineapple out of that.
Yep.
That's really cool. I don't know if I've ever had a beer with that, at least that I knew about.
I'm doing a little water rinse and repeat real quick here.
Very good.
But it's got a nice profile to it.
It does.
There's some flake rye in there in the grain bill that kind of rounds that out and adds some different flavors that you normally wouldn't find in an IPA.
Yeah, it's a nice little malt backbone, but it's got good bitterness.
Yeah, that's one of those hops that's dual use. I mean, it's really good at bittering and it's really good on the back end. So all across the range, it's just a good all around hop.
Is that the only hops that you put in this one?
Yep.
7?
Yep. Yeah. That's it. Single hop.
I get it right almost in the jawbone.
Yep.
Is where I get that little pineapple-y thing. Yeah, I got that.
He's injecting it into his cheese. That's
that's how you're supposed
He's
to
real
drink
big into beer.
If you're not willing to maim yourself for beer, then you don't like beer.
You're not a real fan.
You're not committed. Yeah.
This is really good. This is cool, man. I love trying new hops varieties.
Or hop variety. Single hop in this particular.
Plus Idaho. Are they a big hops producer?
They're getting to be. So they're
kind of low on the hops belt, right?
Yeah, they're right there. It's not all that far from Yakima, where a lot of the hops come from. So
I actually saw something where some person somewhere, like Central Florida, they're actually growing some hops here in Florida.
Well, I know UF has been big.
So there's a lot of Cascade and different things. So yeah, there's a lot of like Paradolia down in Sebastian's been doing some fresh hop.
Oh yeah, I talked to them yesterday.
Did you?
So,
yeah, Pete's
I haven't interviewed them, but I've talked. We'll be talking soon.
Yeah.
Dave and I will be down there soon.
So do you notice a difference between have you ever gotten Cascade hops from Florida?
I have not. No, they sell out really quick. I imagine they would.
We're flat out outside the hops.
Oh, absolutely, right? So, yeah. In fact, they have to. There's hops need to have some portion of their growing season where they have to have 11 hours of sunlight, which we never get even in the middle of summer. So they actually have lights.
How do they?
To go do
don't
that.
Don't they need to have a freeze too?
No. But but UF came up with the original Cascade strain that would withstand the heat too. Really cool. So it's a burgeoning industry. We'll see how it goes.
Science.
She's drunken me with science.
So now we're going to go to our one of our double IPAs we have on right now, Red Tail Squadron.
Oh, this is
and,
the one that
that's the
hasn't
one.
been released
Yeah,
yet.
it's going to get released tomorrow.
So guess what, folks? We're getting this before any of you. But by the time you hear this,
You will-
It'll
you could
you'll
definitely
have
it'll
already
add,
probably be gone.
you could definitely add 1 or a dozen of these.
So that's a double red IPA. Comes in about 9.5%.
Oh, the smell alone right now, it's very tame. Like it's kind of like a sleeper car, I think. One of those like you don't know what's under the hood.
So this one, you have the 7 C's Falconer's Flight hop. That's a blend of all the C hops, or a bunch of the C hops, and
It's definitely a sleeper.
it has a pile of the C hops and the dry hops. So it's
Cool.
really nice follow through on that one.
I'm telling you, nose versus taste.
So good.
Yeah, but it's a sleeper, right? Like
Yeah.
honestly, on the nose, I was like, okay, well, not anything there, and then I got that little bitter thing in the jaw. You're like, wow. Mostly because I injected it directly into my jaw. Again.
I love this style too. It's like you get like
That's Dave's jam right there.
I always feel like you get like a little bit of, I don't know if anyone would even agree with me, like a little bit of a marshmallowy kind of taste in the back. It's like this certain type of sweetness that I always really like. You know what I mean?
I'm just kidding.
No, it's just you.
It's just me.
I don't know if it's just me. It is.
I always get that. I have a buddy, Billy. We used to brew a lot together. And every beer, it seemed like cherry. He'd be like, I taste cherry, taste cherry. We used to always make fun of him. Like, okay, it's a Pilsner, buddy. There's no cherry in there.
Who did we talk to? They're making a. Oh no, that's getting released today.
You get a little bit more.
There's a cherry, cranberry something.
Oh, what was that? Yeah.
I don't remember. There's a cranberry cherry something or other, black cherry.
Was that
I think that was
Beachfly?
Yeah, Beachfly's doing something.
Yeah,
you mentioned cherry.
yeah.
They're doing something with black cherry being
I
released
think
today.
yesterday, Thursday.
Oh, today's Friday.
Today's
Oh,
Friday.
yeah.
So it's probably gone now. It'll definitely be gone by the time everyone hears
Oh,
this.
I forgot all about that. I wanted to try that. Awesome. This is great.
That's nice. That's. I could definitely tell that's.
I got
his
bad
jam
news,
right
man. I've liked every one of these.
Uh-oh.
You're doing something wrong.
Go put some bleach in a cup.
Yeah, I have
Like,
to go.
what do you
Yeah,
think
give
about
him
this
something.
one? That's horrible.
You should have served the wasabi one.
I'll say for me, but I mean, we say you should like everyone or not like everyone based on that. That one right there, my least favorite.
Yeah.
I personally, but I'm not a huge. We've already talked.
Yeah,
I'm
by
not a
style,
huge
yep.
hophead.
That was my most favorite, actually. That and the second would be the.
We're like
idiot.
ebony and ivory, or ivory and other ivory.
All right, now we're going to go dark. We'll start with our black IPA. It's called Dark Matter.
Oh yeah.
And so just a lot of roasty flavors there and good balance with a nice hop profile.
So for our listeners who aren't versed in dark matter, can you tell us everything you know about dark matter?
Yeah, it wouldn't take very long.
So it's like dark and it's like mattery, but it's not.
You guys go big on the space theme, huh? A lot of times. I
being
love
right
that.
outside the gates of the Space Center, that's always been our thing.
Me gusta.
This one was tough. This one, John had been working on a black IPA, and I was working on a black IPA, and between the two of us, we probably had, 6 or 8 versions before we got to where we were happy with the hops. It's really hard to get the hops to shine through the roast.
It smells like it honestly smells like a stout. It's got that coffee big time.
Yeah.
It's got some coffee in there. I mean, I can definitely coffee it up, which is good because I didn't have coffee this morning. I literally got out of bed, took a shower, and came here. So I had no
I had
coffee.
quite a bit, and I believe Steve did too. I'd imagine.
Yep, absolutely.
It took you a while to develop this one, but you guys have had this one.
Yeah, it's been on for a while. Yeah, probably.
I remember having this
at least 4 years.
Quite a while ago.
Yeah, once we finally got it balanced out the way we wanted it, it's a good,
nice.
consistent seller.
So now you, Joe, you're not a big hop head, and this one has a much more of a malty backbone than a typical IPA. So what do you think of this thing?
I actually very much enjoy this. Like, if it didn't say that it was an IPA at all, like, honestly, the name IPA, I don't want to say it's off-putting. And I've purposefully gone to places recently so I can be more well-rounded. You know, you don't always stick to your strengths. You want to go to your weaknesses, so to speak. So this one is actually really nice. I enjoy. Now, somebody who maybe me 3 years ago, I would have said no.
Yeah.
I would have said it no. But
So they actually added black IPAs as a style, but I think they call them Cascadian dark ales or something like that is what they ended up but it's actually a judgeable style.
Well, what's great about IPAs is being so popular. There's been just so much effort put towards being innovative with just that style.
Right.
So now you have New England and Cascadian.
We always joke we're going to call every, we have a Ricky Carroll IPA and the Susie's IPA.
I mean,
you put
really
IPA
good.
on it and
You
you
just gotta say IPA.
sell more.
This is a pineapple IPA.
What do you mean by Pilsner IPA?
Let's get the beer out there, my nose.
As long as you don't spit it on my microphone, you're good.
Pilsner IPA is fantastic. I'm not an IPA fan, and I love this. Really.
Didn't change the recipe one bit. Now it just says IPA.
All right, so we got one more.
And we'll finish with our Oat Dis Stout.
That's my jam.
It's an oatmeal stout. Comes in just a little shy of 7%. Nice and thick and chewy. Really well balanced malt and hop backbone.
Oh man, just a nose on that. This right here, the oatmeal stout. That's kind of my jam. You want me to close my eyes for the pic?
Do it. You gotta get these pictures.
That's great.
Beautiful, beautiful. And this one you guys have had for a little while.
We've had that for a while as well.
Yeah, because
we actually this is
I've
call this
one a few
Otis
times,
the
yeah.
Elder because it's a higher ABV version. We do an
Oh, like
Otis
Pliny?
Otis the Younger that comes in more around 5%.
So
and
yep. That's cool. I like that.
I do like this one quite a bit.
It's one of my favorites. I really
that's gonna be. You know what? The pineapple's probably a really close number 2 for me. But this one, that's my number 1.
There we go.
So fucking good.
That's really good.
This is such a good beer. Was this one of yours or John?
This was actually developed with a friend of ours who comes down, who's a snowbird, and he comes down. He was a brewer at Hop and Frog up in Ohio, and he comes down and he brews with us. In fact, he'll be down here in another month or so, and this is when we played around with him on and developed some.
That's so good.
That's where that was a collaboration there.
I feel like there's two, with stouts, there's it's kind of almost like IPAs. You have so many varieties within the genre.
You can do dry stouts and
yeah.
oatmeal stouts.
It's
and
endless.
imperial stouts, of course.
But what it comes down to for me is you have stouts that have like a really bitter hoppy finish, and you have stouts that have kind of a sweeter, clean finish. And this one falls in the cleaner, but it's sometimes you don't want to. I mean, it's not like drinking a milk stout. It's not like you're not getting like a
there's no residual
lactose,
sweetness in there
nothing
at all.
like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a malty sweetness. It's perfect. This is hard. I don't know which one's my favorite. This might actually be
this one's easily my favorite. But you know what? But not even a distant second. Maybe because it's so unique that the pineapple one is just. It was great. I'll probably have to try another pineapple one later.
That's the Festive Idiot though is up there for me too. So that's the most complex one by far. So much going on in that one. Really good.
We came up with that for a friend's wedding actually, and she got married and known her since she was 5 years old, and she wanted to just kind of make you a beer for your wedding. She said, "Yeah, that'd be great. I want a spiced brown ale." So okay, I already have a good brown ale, and so what can we do to it to
spice it up,
to make it what you want? And that's where that came from.
Awesome.
Yeah. I won't say no. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's got that nice dark color right there. It's like
stouts are the most beautiful.
It's like a blanket in a glass. It's like, I just feel like if there was like a fire in front of me and I got a blanket and it's cold outside. That's what this is.
You were saying last interview we did. You said fall is your favorite time of year for beer.
Yeah,
it's winter for me.
Winter is really close there, and for
you get
a lot
the
of the
most
same
flavor
reasons.
during the winter.
Yeah, I mean you get those big flavors in the winter.
Winter warmers and stouts and Doppelbock.
But I think the thing with Florida is because we don't really have a winter per se. I feel like our winter is fall elsewhere.
Ooh, what is this bonus beer?
Bonus beer. It's
all right.
It's another double IPA. It's called X37B.
Yes.
But Joe, I think even you'll like this one. It's got a little bit of a Belgian note because it's actually got 2 different yeasts in it. We built the name. We built the beer around the name of the space plane.
I'm looking at the sticker over there. Yeah.
Right. So it's
experimental.
So X is 10%, And then it has 3 hops and 7 grains, and, and it's finished with a hop called Belmo's with a B. And so
you got the whole name in there.
And so, with the 7 grains and all the hops in there, it just has layers and layers of flavors, and then the 2 yeasts in there to kind of round it out.
Creamy. It's like
it really is an interesting beer, and so the X37 team just landed the shuttle here last month, and so we did that in celebration of that.
That's
cool.
really
Is
nice.
this a one-off? Or you only
No, we do that whenever they do big events like that.
Oh, that's cool. So it's actually tied in with the space program.
Tied in with a space program. And in fact, you see, we did a commemorative bottle for them as well.
Yeah.
And so the team could buy the beer in the commemorative bottle.
Nice.
So we've done that for
that's fantastic.
done that for
That's
X37.
great,
We've done that for Blue Origin. We've done a lot of commemorative bottle things, for big space events.
So they actually are involved, and they come buy the beer and
come and contract with us.
Wow,
But how do they drink while they're in their space suits?
they actually have a little tube.
The little squeeze packs. Yeah.
They actually have to freeze. They have to freeze dry the beer.
Is that what the commemorative pack is? It's a little squeezy.
Oh my god, that's so good.
That's nice too.
I'm so glad you brought this one over.
Yeah, I mean, we almost missed out on.
You almost missed out on that.
Yeah.
It was way down on the end of the taps.
Oh, that's extremely nice.
So we don't make that all that often, but when we do, that's a special one.
Smell. I mean, it's like a soda, like smell. Like I've got that. Like
there's just a lot going on in that beer. Like
there is. There's a ton going on. Oh, man.
And that's another one that goes down way too easy for a 10%.
I was about, this is 10%? Oh my god!
That's like 3 different types of beer made together, and it still works.
It's completely hidden. It's like the Long Island iced tea.
So for my retirement back in February, John did a version of that for my retirement party called X37C, the next generation, and he ran it up to 13%, and it went down equally smooth at 13% as it does
dangerous.
at 10. And talk about one that was just dangerous.
That one gets a little bit of hop at the very end, but it's like it's not hoppy, and then you like little throat hop.
Oh yeah, you get it in the finish. Like right now, I can taste it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's such a malty.
Like so, there's with 7 grains in there, so there's just a lot going on.
And I'm wondering, just because we had this one like straight from the tap, I wonder if that one sits for a while. If the hop starts coming out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
As it warms up a little bit, you'll get a little bit different profile.
This needs to become a thing, I feel like there's certain beers where, I mean, you serve all your beer at the same temperature.
Right,
it comes out of the cooler. Yeah. Maybe there's certain beers you should I don't know.
Or maybe we should just
you order the beer kind of like food.
Actually, most of our beers should be a little warmer. They sit in the glass a little bit. Because I think they'll open up a little bit.
But you order food and you got to wait 10, 15 minutes for your food to come. You do the same thing with a beer.
So what we should do on a future show, we should just say, hey, whatever beer you want us to have now and you want us to try a little bit warmer later, we'll sit it up here kind of towards the beginning of the show, and then we'll do it straight from the tap, and then just
tasting,
do like a side by side.
It. Yeah, we had because we had a break during our last interview, and the last couple beers ended up getting kind of warm, and you could tell just by tasting
it really worked.
That's the difference between craft beer and say like a Coors Light. Coors Light is absolutely undrinkable warm, and most well brewed craft beers, at room temperature are still just fine.
They're
still
absolutely
drinkable and really good, and some are better, because they get more flavor.
Totally. Well, like you said earlier, you go to your buddy's party and all he's got is Bud Light, you'll drink it. But if it was just sitting there warm on the shelf,
it's got to come straight out of the ice chest.
It's
got to come straight out of the ice chest.
And that's so you can deaden your taste buds for you to actually pour it down your gullet. I mean, that's really why it has to be that cold.
I mean, I like having a cold beer when it's hot out.
Sure, yeah.
But it's funny. There's this place in what's it called? Disney Springs.
Right.
They it's called what is it called? I almost said 28 North. I think that's that place over here. Whatever they're called. They have they advertise we have the coldest beer on the earth. They bring it just above freezing or something like that. And I'm like,
slushy.
I'm like, that's not a good thing. You're literally it's going to be seltzer water. It doesn't even matter what beer it is,
That's it. Yeah.
People think it's cool, though,
Well, I think all of these beers, like I mentioned, there was one that was just not my style.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a bad beer? It was not a bad beer. It was a good beer. It was a very good beer.
It was a fantastic beer.
But it wasn't me. But and that's why I was saying, I like to
that's
try
why we
it.
brew so many, and I cover that. Craft beer covers a lot of ground these days.
But everything was nice and clean. It was done well. I can't say anything bad about any of the beers, other than the only thing wrong with the beers was me. I mean, that's all I can say. The only thing wrong.
There's a lot wrong with you, Joe.
I didn't say the only thing wrong with me is beer. I said the only thing wrong with the beer was me. No, I used my words. I used my words the way I meant to. But yeah, I do thank you for having us on.
Our pleasure.
Or us having you on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I worded that one right. But yeah, I do thank you for letting us come by and drink some of your beer. You guys definitely need to come and drink some of their beer as well. They do have a new location. They closed down the other location back in July. So they're here at 225 King Street, Unit B, Cocoa, Florida, 32922. And they're, once again, you can find them bugnutty.com. You can find them Bugnutty on Facebook.
And Bugnutty Brew on Instagram.
On Instagram as well.
And if you know Dirty Or, they're like right across the street.
Across the street.
Oh my gosh, it's, yeah. Well,
you gotta have a lot of people walking
Oh
back
my
and forth.
gosh.
Yep.
Yep.
That's gotta be
And they do some
really
different
awesome.
beers than we do. They do sours and some other things that we don't do, so that's very
Perfect.
complimentary.
So if you walk into the middle of the street right there, you could do a collaboration right in the middle of the street. I mean, that's
a
what
sour and a stout. I drink it.
As always, thanks for listening, and if it wasn't for beer, you wouldn't be here.